So Canada, for past 10 years has been a fantastic study abroad destination, wherein once the student completes their education, they are ready to start working from day one. So it's a much cheaper destination in terms of the education, the tuition fee, and everything.
The spouse visa is a working visa, work permit?
Yes.
Let's address the elephant in the room, which is the recent developments that have happened in Canada.
I'll just briefly tell you like 3 major changes which came in.
Is it still a viable choice for them? Hello, joining us today is the founder and director of Infocus Overseas, Nikhil Jhingon. He is the ideal mentor for anyone considering Canada as a study abroad destination. In today's episode, we'll talk to him about the ins and outs of admissions, scholarships, current job scenarios, work visas, and a lot more. Hi everyone, I'm Jainesh Sinha, co-founder of GyanDhan and your host for this podcast today. So without any further delay, let's welcome Nikhil. Hi Nikhil, welcome to our podcast.
Hi Jainesh, thank you so much for having me over.
Alright, so Nikhil, you have been guiding students for overseas education for over 10 years. Tell us a little bit about your background, where do you come from and how do you pick the higher education industry?
Right. So I, been born and brought up in Delhi itself. And, I initially started working for one of the consultancies. And this is where I saw there was a gap, in between the student and the counselors, wherein, I wanted to start something wherein we are not just focusing on the numbers part, but we are focusing a lot on the quality of counseling that we are giving to the students. Right. So, we are basically spending time on each student around 1.5 hours to 2 hours on the counseling session. We're explaining them all the ins and outs. Being transparent, being honest with them, explaining them the whole process step by step, and that is where many things came into place, and I felt that is the right way to move forward.
Yeah,
and guide the students in the best possible way.
Yeah,
and understanding their pain areas, because most of the students that I have seen, they are actually not aware of the complete knowledge.
Yeah.
Be it for any country. Yes, we have been doing a lot of Canada for many years now, but they are unaware of, the ins and outs of the visa, of the, admission process, how the application process works. So this is where we come into play, and, we do our best to give the students as much knowledge as possible. I feel the students, those who have gone through us, probably, they can also open their own consultancy after some time. That is the amount of information that we are sharing with them.
Very interesting. I always see a fear in education consultants that, if you tell the client a lot, then they will stop having the need for an education consultant. Exactly what you said. So how do you balance that against the vision to help the student, really help the student?
Okay. So just want to add one more thing. So you're absolutely right when you're stating that, they can then themselves do the process. But we are actually not, charging the students anything as it is. So, the students are more than welcome, to come and do the process absolutely free of cost. We are there to put in, all the efforts. We have the expertise. Yeah. We have the knowledge. We keep on updating ourselves with, what are the policy changes coming into each and every country, and, share that knowledge with the students. So the student is able to take the right decision for themselves. Yeah. And obviously, in the whole process, the student is maybe he could be 18, 20, still at a very young age to take the decisions for themselves. So we try to, sit with the parents, discuss each and everything, explain them, at a very initial stage, let's say, arranging for the financials, what their profile is, the eligibility criteria and all those things. And then, move forward from there.
Yeah, makes sense. Right. So we talked about Canada in the introduction as well. What is your take on Canada as a study abroad destination?
So Canada, for past 10 years has been a fantastic study abroad destination. So the main criteria which I feel Canada stands out from the other countries is the practical based learning programs which are offered. So practical based learning programs are basically how the work is done. It's more hands on what the student is studying as compared to how we have it here in India. It's more theory based programs. So that is one of the things that stands out. Secondly, Canada is a much cheaper option as compared to other, English-speaking countries that we're talking about here. So it's a much cheaper destination in terms of the education, the tuition fee, and everything. So I still feel, and moreover, you also get a work permit also.
Yeah.
Of, once you complete your education of 2 years, you're eligible for a 3 years of work permit. You also have an option of getting a permanent residency. You're also going into a multicultural country, multicultural environment where you meet, students not only from Canada, but from other nationalities like Europe, Americans. So you actually, grow as a person and not only just, confining yourself to a very, small nationalities of students.
Yeah. Makes sense. And what are the eligibility requirements for students to get into Canadian colleges and universities?
Right. So eligibility criteria is very simple and, a very basic eligibility requirement. Student just needs to have at least 50% and above in their education. IELTS is like 6 bands overall. This is the basic eligibility criteria. These are the only 2 things which are required.
But if somebody wants to get into well-ranked programs and colleges and universities,
right,
then what should be the qualification that they should be aiming for, both in terms of their academic percentage and IELTS?
Right. Okay, so if the student is looking for a high-ranked university, we normally recommend student to at least having 70 to 75% and above.
Got it.
In their bachelor's as well as in their 12th. And IELTS, more than 7 bands. I think student is sorted for getting into good rank universities also.
Got it. Okay. Understood. And could you talk a little bit more about students' work authorization, which, as you mentioned, is a key point, benefits that Canada offers as a destination?
Right. So, we focus a lot on this point when the students also comes to our office for the counseling part. So we are, we are suggesting the students the colleges which have a very high employment rate, right? So, and all the programs in Canada are designed by the industry. So this is the biggest, thing wherein once the student completes their education, they are ready to start working from day one. So, and these programs also keep on changing from, time to time.
Yeah.
So what is currently offered, like say, for example, marketing management, which was offered in 2015, 2016 is absolutely different to what it's being offered in 2024. So they keep on evolving their programs as per the market needs and the industry needs.
Got it. Okay. Interesting. And can students bring dependents as well to Canada?
Okay. So as of now, when we are talking, yes, you can still apply for your spouse. We all know that on 22nd of January, there was an announcement that spouse visa would not be allowed. So that will not be allowed once the date is announced. Because we have still seen that we are still receiving students, those who applied for this spouse visa, they're still getting their visas approved.
Spouse visa is a working visa, work permit?
Yes. So the spouse can work full time while the student can obviously be on the study visa and study.
Got it. And post this event, once the new regulations come into effect, then will the spouse be able to accompany the student although not work? Or do you think there will be a restriction on that as well?
So yes, so they can still accompany, but they'll be on a visitor visa that they can apply. And obviously they'll be not legally allowed to work in Canada.
Understood. Now let's address the elephant in the room, which is the recent developments that have happened in Canada, right? So, which has spanned multiple aspects and many policy changes that have been in the news, right? So,
right.
Every other day, I see an alert or an opinion piece on something that's happening in the higher education space in Canada. And could you please briefly explain what these changes are for the benefit of our audience and how they affect future Indian applicants?
Absolutely. So we firstly need to understand what the changes are. So I'll just briefly tell you like 3 major changes which came in. One is the spouse visa that we are talking about. So this came in because if the spouse is also coming there, working there, this is adding to the burden to the industry to give them a job also, right? So this is one of the reasons they are, going to ban the spouse visa in the future. Secondly, they are going to be putting an international cap on the number of students coming into Canada.
Got it.
So this they have done. This cap is currently at 3,64,000. So this cap is basically done because of the housing crisis in Canada. Because students are currently paying, around $1,000, $1,200 for a very small room per month. So that is a very high amount of money that they are, investing in just the living expenses part. So secondly, because of this housing crisis, students are unable to find accommodation near to their colleges. They have to travel around 1-2 hours just to get to the college for the classes. So these changes are coming into place so that the student can have a better study abroad experience.
Yeah.
And this cap is also a temporary ban for 2 years. After 2 years, they will, revise. They will see the situation, how the situation is, and then they will probably make the changes.
Got it.
According to the requirement. And the third point which came on 22nd of January is triple P colleges, which are public-private partnership colleges, a student who goes to those colleges would not be eligible for the work permit. So I would recommend students, those who are going to Canada, to apply for public colleges or the private colleges, but not to the public-private colleges.
Got it. Okay. While these changes seem restrictive, but from your response, I get a sense that you agree with the intent behind the changes, which is improving the quality of the study abroad experience. Is that true?
Absolutely true. I feel this change is a year late, because I could see the number of students going there, and the students, those who have gone through us, we were already taking feedback from those students also, that they were facing a lot of challenges in terms of, getting a house for themselves, accommodation, even part-time opportunities. They were facing problems with the part-time opportunity. I, feel that part-time plays a big role when the student goes for abroad education, because for abroad education, the student, while they're working as part-time, they also understand a lot of things while working in that environment.
So while these changes sound a bit restrictive for students, it appears to me from your response that you agree with the intent behind these changes. Is that true?
Yes, I absolutely agree with the changes. These changes, I feel, came a year late, because I could already see the students, those who had gone in 2022, 23, they were facing a lot of challenges in terms of finding a good accommodation for themselves, as well as getting a good part-time opportunities as well while they're studying there.
Yeah.
So based on their feedback, I also felt there were a lot more students going in than the housing or the accommodation or the number of students they could accommodate there.
Got it. And you've touched upon the job scenario with this reference to the part-time jobs. Let me ask you about both part-time jobs as well as full-time jobs, because we hear and we see videos online of people queuing up for a simple job opportunity in Canada. So is that pervasive? Is that true with all colleges? Are there still, first of all, is that a true reflection? If so, in which pockets are those scarcities in, and are there still pockets where students can find success?
Right. So basically, based on that, there are a lot of students. We also see reels. I'm very sure all the students must have seen those reels. So to some extent, they are true, but they are not the only thing which is happening. There are many students. So basically, if you're capable enough, you find a job much earlier than the student, those who are basically not gone there on the basis of the study.
Yeah.
Or their main criteria was not to study. They were those students, those who just wanted to be there in Canada. And, somehow those kind of students, have a tougher time finding a job. Yeah. If you find a good college for yourself, if you do a thorough research of the kind of programs, the kind of job scenario there is in Canada, like what kind of programs are required, so that initial research, if you are doing, you are able to find a much better job and much faster job as compared to somebody who has done no research or done a very generic course. So, finalizing a course that you're going for is very important, even before, you see like wherein you can get a job.
Yeah. And of course, so sounds like the college course preparation, these three things make a lot of difference.
Correct.
So you touched upon placements. So let me ask you a follow-up question about that. Typically in India, students get placed through the placement service of colleges. Companies come to the campus, they pick students. I'm sure it happens differently in Canada. Could you talk a little bit about that? And also include some practical advice for students on things they should be doing even before the education finishes, or even perhaps before going to Canada, to best prepare themselves to enter the job market.
So the placement system there in Canada is much different how we have it here in India. So colleges have a job fair wherein, all the companies come in, the students can just walk up to the companies, share their CVs, and hopefully get a call from them for a job interview. One is this. Secondly, whatever the job scenario or the job openings are, the program coordinator shares that with the students.
Got it.
And the students can immediately apply, go there, crack their interview and get their jobs. So this is the basic criteria how it goes. Now, when we're talking about what the students can do even before, they're going from India, one is, obviously build their LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
As many, connections as possible, because most of the jobs over there you're getting is based on referral.
Interesting.
And what we are also doing, we have sent, many students to Canada. So we have more or less, all the students in more or less all the cities. So we also get those students in touch with the new students, those who are going there. So obviously they are currently working there, they already have their work permits, or maybe now they're holding a PR. So those students are also able to help out the new students, those who are coming to Canada.
Interesting. Very nice. So you yourself put your newer students in touch with the older students as well?
Yes. Because we understand, that change of, going to a new country, into a new environment, how to, look for a accommodation, how to look for a job, like a part-time opportunity. So all those things are tough. Even the colleges are, also holding orientation days and everything, so that they're able to explain the students each and everything in detail.
Yeah. And this placement aspect, the placement support aspect, is something that you cover as a part of your counseling as well.
Yes, absolutely. So we are basically, we are not getting the visa part for the student done. But once the visa come in, we ask the student to come to our office, wherein we can, do a pre-departure session with them, explain them, what all they need to carry in their bag while they are crossing the airport, because they'll be issued a study permit from the airport. So very important to have all the documents with them at the time of the airport, because the immigration officer can ask any questions or any document from the student.
Yeah.
Because if they're already there and they're alone at that moment, they will panic. So very important to do a pre-departure. So we always recommend the students, when their visa is done, do come and visit us, so that we can help you in, arranging the documents for, crossing the border.
So touching upon the recent policy changes a little bit more, could you talk specifically about the changes in the post-graduation work permit? What can students expect?
Right. So I just want to add what are changes which have come in. So we all know, like, if you go for 1 year of course, you get 1 year of work permit. If you go for 2 years of course, you get 3 years of work permit. What all which has been added to this? If you do a 1 year of masters, you are still eligible for 3 years of work permit. So this is something which has been come. So if you are eligible to go for a masters, do apply for a masters program.
Got it.
Right. Secondly, if you go to a BBB college, which I've already mentioned, you would not be eligible for the work permit. So don't go for the BBB colleges, go for a public college or a master's program.
Got it. All right. So masters versus postgraduate diplomas versus other diplomas. There's generally that what we have seen as students prefer diplomas over masters. Is that a function of selection and eligibility criteria? Is that a function of cost? And how should the choice change, given that the government through its policies is trying to push masters up?
Correct. So basically it is factor for both the cost as well as the eligibility criteria. So if you talk about a master's program, most of the universities in case of Canada require a student to have at least 70% and above. And we all know, students, especially from Delhi University, it is very hard for a student to get more than 70%. The topper is more or less getting around 65, 70%. So this is one of the criteria. Plus, most of the universities in case of Canada require 4 years of bachelor's. And, all the students doing their BBAs, BCom, they are not eligible to apply for masters. Thirdly, cost is also a factor, wherein, if you're spending around 10, 11 lakh rupees on a diploma program, as compared to a master's program, would be around 18 lakhs, 17 lakhs per year. So, all these things come into play when they are choosing the options. Plus, there are more number of, colleges, more number of programs,
seats,
wider range for the students to, select from. More specializations are also there. Biggest thing is the practical based learning, which is actually my favorite thing, where you are actually getting to learn things hands-on, how the work is actually done, than theory based, like the bookish knowledge.
Yeah.
So these are the things, which are different in a master's as compared to a post-graduation diploma program.
Very interesting. Another question that I had again on the recent changes is that, given the tightening, do you expect the visa rejection rates to increase, and has that already changed?
Okay. So as of now, when we are talking right now, the visa success rate is absolutely fantastic. Okay. If you talk about January 2024, we had 100% visa success rate. And till now, in 2024 also, all the visas have come in till now, have been approved, right? Going forward, I think the visa rejection rate may increase because of the cap. And, I also feel that Canada is looking at quality students coming into, their country. So students with weaker profile may have a problem in, getting the visas approved, even if they're eligible in terms of getting the offer letter from the college.
So somebody with let's say less than 60% marks in their graduation, or I should say in their class 12th, they should probably think of how best can they accentuate their profile, perhaps by getting a higher
IELTS score. Making a very strong SOP, explaining, why they're going for a particular program, why they're choosing this college. It should not be generic in nature. It should be a very specific and detailed SOP. SOP is a statement of purpose. Plays a very important role, especially when a student is applying for their visa. So all those things needs to, may play in favor of student when the visa officer is making a decision on their application.
Yeah, absolutely. What is the typical journey for a student when they come to Infocus Overseas?
Right. So, we normally get students, they may take around a year to complete the whole process. So I'll just, bifurcate how this, year passes by so quickly with the students. When they, they initially come in, they come very blank to us. They have probably just thought they want to go, to Canada or to some country for their education. So we have to basically educate them in terms of, how the criteria is, what all financials that you need to arrange. Many of these students, they do look out for loan. I think more than 80 to 90% students, those who go, they're looking out for a loan. So, this is where maybe, you can get in touch with GyanDhan and, they can help you in, securing a loan. Secondly, once the financials are sorted, students need to prepare for the IELTS. IELTS probably take about 1 to 1.5 months for they get the TRF done. Once they are ready with their TRF, we immediately start their application process. We start, after a month or month and a half, we get their offer letters. We have to guide the students on how to make the tuition fee payment. Then we also help the students with the GIC process. After that, they need to get the medical done, and then we apply for the visa. The visa currently is taking around 2 months, and once the visa is received, the passport stamping also takes about 10 to 15 days. So it's a long process. But whatever intake the student is targeting, they need to start as soon as possible for that intake.
Got it. And what it sounds like is that at every step of this whole year-long process, you are with the student, guiding them on the best next step to take, best position to put themselves in.
Absolutely. So we are, basically hand-holding the student. So till not only, counseling and getting the visa done, but we are going, one step further, wherein if our student needs to apply for any study permit extension, we also do that. We are also helping our students in applying for a post-graduation work permit also.
Oh, nice.
So, we are still in touch with those students also, those who are already in Canada. So our process doesn't stop, once your visa is done, our process is done. We want to go that extra mile to, give the best service to the students.
Yeah, till they succeed.
Correct.
Till they find professional success.
Absolutely.
Very interesting. Very nice. All right. Let me sum it up with this question. Despite the negative press, despite the restrictions that the government policies have placed, those who are looking to target Canada for their overseas education, is it still a viable choice for them?
Absolutely. It is still the viable choice because the changes have been made for the betterment of the student. The student needs to understand this. Because if the student is going to Canada and they're not, getting a proper accommodation to stay in, who is going to be facing that difficulty? The student will be. So they are making these changes so that the student, those who are coming into Canada, have the best study abroad experience. So absolutely, Canada is still the best choice as per me. And if you're planning on studying in Canada, get your profile assessed. What all things you need to arrange financially, documentation wise, IELTS, academic documents, everything. Do get in touch with us so that we can help you out with the whole process in the best possible way.
Got it. Perfect. Hey, it's been great having you on the show, Nikhil. I think your insights and detailed information that you've shared with us today is going to be a lot of help to all our audience. So thank you so much for taking the time out from a busy schedule.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.